Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. I'm Robert Chirabo. Thank you so much for being with us. And of course, right from the hour of 6, those that did start the day with us, really appreciate your time. Every moment spent with us here on Good Morning Uganda, we do treasure it. Now, this morning, I'm going to be discussing something very, very important in terms of alleviating poverty, fighting poverty, and ensuring economic growth through the cooperative model. But now we want to focus on risk management in cooperatives. Like I've already said, there is so much that government is doing, and the vehicle that they are using to fight poverty is the cooperative model. Now, we must ensure that we understand very, very well what the cooperative model is all about, but also we get to know, in case of uncertainties, where are the shock absorbers? How can cooperators be protected? And with me on set, I have Francis Semogerere, no, Francis Semwanga. I don't want to give the man to another clan. You see, in Uganda, clans matter so much, and each clan has its name. So this is Francis Semwanga, who happens to be the business development manager, cooperative insurance company. Now, this is an insurance company of the cooperators with whom we are going to be discussing this and more. Francis, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And just next to me is the usual suspect. A man very passionate about cooperatives. A man over time gotten, sometimes mistakenly, to call him cooperator or cooperatives, because no matter what time of the day you meet him, no matter which place you meet him, he'll be talking about cooperatives, he'll be talking about cooperating, and in case he even takes you for dinner or anything, be assured that what you're going to be discussing there is something to do with cooperatives. Ivan Asimwe, who happens to be the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Ivan, most welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chirabo. Good morning, our viewers. Good morning, everyone. This is a very wonderful morning, and I'm really privileged to be here. Thank you so much. I want to thank UBC for this opportunity. Thank you.
I just want to begin with my guest, Francis, this morning. When we talk about a cooperative insurance company, someone wonders, I've been looking through the history of cooperatives, and cooperatives once had an insurance company. So is this the same? Is this something new? What is your mandate?
Thank you, Mr. Chirabo. Sometimes it is hard to talk when you have your chairman in-house. Mr. Ivan Asimwe is the chairman of CIC Insurance, but let me try to attempt to that, then a bit later on. Cooperatives have had entities that keep them together, keep them vibrant. And so we had a cooperative insurance society. That was the insurance company back then, which was vibrant. And it kept together the cooperatives managing their risks. But that, you know what happened, poor management, and whatever it is that is going to mention, that it collapsed. And assets got sold and stolen and stuff like that. Now, there has been space from maybe 1971 to when CIC was formed to manage the risks of cooperatives. So CIC today is a replica of the Cooperative Insurance Society back then. Its intention is very clear, and it is formed by the cooperative societies to manage their risks. Yeah. The only difference with this one is that we've got shareholders from the region, within the region, cooperators from Kenya, cooperatives from South Sudan, Malawi. They're all trying to give CIC Uganda support to enable the company manage the risk of cooperatives. But it is more or less the same. So we are taking off from where the other one left, and we've learned lessons to make this one better. So this is a best version of the previous. Yes.
Now that said, I come to Ivan. When we talk about risks of cooperators or this cooperative society, what are some of these risks? And one would ask, if there are risks, why have a particular insurance and not other insurance companies that are around to handle these risks?
Thank you so much, moderator. First of all, my name is Ivan Asimwe, like you have rightly mentioned. I'm the General Secretary of Uganda Cooperative Alliance, but again, I'm the board chairman for Cooperative Insurance Company, representing Uganda Cooperative Alliance, which is the apex body. Now, that one literally means that this is a company purely owned, controlled by the cooperators. And like we have rightly mentioned, and Francis, we had almost a similar company in the previous years, which collapsed with the collapse of the cooperative movement. But as cooperators, you know, cooperators, one time I was here and I told you, cooperatives don't die. They just sleep a bit. Then with the time, once they awaken like this, cooperators are there. So we kept asking ourselves as cooperators, for how long are we going to keep with the ideology of poor? Poor meaning passing on opportunities repeatedly. Passing on opportunities repeatedly meaning I get money from cooperatives and I take it to other companies and give them businesses, but cooperators are not gaining. So we said, no, we need to form our own company as cooperators in the country. Because when you talk about cooperators in this country, we are talking of a very big constituency to the tune of 50,000 registered cooperative societies, serving over 18 million Ugandans. That's a very big constituency. 18 million Ugandans, even if someone contributed just 1,000 shillings, it is a lot of money. That is almost 18 billion. Just 1,000. If I say Chirabo, Ivan, Francis, all cooperators, 18 million, just bring 1,000. That's 18 billion. So you see the power of numbers. So looking at that, we said, no, enough is enough. I remember when I was in a SACCO as a general manager, I used to pay almost 30 million per month, giving it to insurance companies. But I sat down and asked myself, where is the return? If I'm giving this money every month, where is the return as a manager, as someone who is learned, someone who has gone through books? At the end of the day, I am getting this money from a SACCO, donating it to an insurance company where I don't have a stake. So where is the return? So given all that, the cooperators sat down and said, enough is enough. Let us form our company. But of course, starting an insurance company is not easy. You need a lot of capital, you need a lot of infrastructure, because they are all requirements by the regulator. So we had now, using the 6 principles of cooperatives, you know, for us, we are guided by principles. The 6th principle of cooperatives says cooperation among cooperatives. We now visit our friends in Kenya, who are the cooperators. You know, Kenya has the largest, when you talk about the cooperative movement, it has the muscle. So we sit with them, like he has mentioned, and using that principle, we sat together, we agreed, and they helped us to establish CIC Africa Uganda. Here we are. Now, when you have to look at the size of CIC, take an example of Kenya. Today I was reading the net assets of CIC group is around 59.6 billion Kenya shillings. That's a lot of money. If you are to use the current exchange rate, it's a lot of money, too much money. So, and it has others, subsidiaries. Go to Southern Sudan, you go to Malawi. Now we are here in Uganda. But we are the majority shareholders when it comes here in Uganda. So we work together, and now we have an insurance company which has subsidiaries, general business and life business, like he's going to explain. Now, why did we think of insurance? We realize that there are very many risks within these cooperatives. Very many risks. Because Ugandans, we know that we have very many forms and types of cooperatives. Talk of the forms, we have very many primary cooperative societies. Then they come together, they form secondaries, like Banyankole, like Chibing, like Bugisu, like Sebeyere, Nalango. Those are secondaries, like Ukusku. Those are secondary cooperative unions. Then we also have tertiary, where the members are secondary unions. And then we have the Apex, which is Uganda Cooperative Alliance, whose membership are both secondary and tertiary. Then beyond that, we now have the types of these cooperatives. We have the financial cooperatives, these are circles. We have agricultural production and marketing. You hear the Banyankole, the Lango Cooperative and the Bugisu, all of those. We have energy cooperatives. We have transport cooperatives, water and environment, health cooperatives, housing cooperatives. There are so many, but they have different risks. Now, before I go to these risks, Ugandans, what is a risk? In simple terms, a risk means a possibility that something undesirable will happen. Chirabo, you have planned maybe this morning, I want to wake up at 5 and go to UBC to work. You don't know what is going to happen.
Along the way.
Along the way. Anything can happen, an accident happens. That's a risk. So in other words, you had planned, a cooperative has planned, this year we are giving inputs to farmers so that they can increase their production. But you don't know what God is planning. Along the way, you may have too much rain or even sunshine. And whatever you had planned, your planned outcome does not come true.
And in the agricultural sector, that is very common. Very
common. Now, and you see, most of our cooperatives in this country, almost the tune of 90%, they are serving the smallholder farmers who are exposed to all of these risks. That is why we came up with this company, making sure that we as cooperators, what are our needs, and who is ready to listen to our needs. Because we realize that most of others are focusing on making profits.
Yes.
But for us, we are focusing on how best we serve the interests of the cooperators. So the very many risks, take an example of the liquidity risk. You are a circle, but tomorrow you don't know what will happen. A saver may come, he wants his money, it's not there. That is a liquidity risk. Then the risk of default. You are giving out loans to individuals, but you don't know along the way what will happen.
Who fail to pay.
Yes, who fails to pay. Someone may have gotten money today, as he's even walking back home, he gets an accident and dies. And there is a default automatically. So we now look at that, whereby we are looking at mitigating that risk of default in a case there is permanent disability, in case of catastrophic loss, in a case of death. So that one is there. You have maybe, there is the legal risk. You are there doing a business as a cooperative, anything happens and there is change of law. There is change of policy, like I've seen with the energy cooperatives. They have been operating, but eventually Ministry of Energy is thinking otherwise in terms of giving them licenses. That is a policy risk. So anything can happen. So there are very many types of risks. The legal, the policy, the default, the liquidity. There are so many risks, where even the market risk. A cooperative like Chibinge, which is exporting coffee to Europe, you don't know along the way from Chibinge up to Germany what may happen. So you need to mitigate that risk. So all of that forced us to think very fast and come up with an insurance company that is going to address our insurance needs.
Now, that said, Francis, when I look at most times, it is an insurance company that is not part of this other company. Now, let's look at your ability. You know, when Ivan talks about cooperators and cooperatives, he talks about huge figures.
He's so passionate.
Leave alone being passionate, but talks about huge figures.
Yeah, true.
He just talked about 18 billion, if every cooperator. Now, that means their assets are also quite big in number. When you talk about Chibinge, a cooperative I've visited frequently, the trucks they have, the warehouse, and all these machines. Now, let's look at the ability of this insurance company to insure the cooperators. To what extent are you able to? You know, when liquidity happens, when maybe damage to property has happened, a ship has sunk carrying tons and tons of cooperators, coffee. I'm so interested your ability to handle such uncertainties.
Thank you, moderator. Now, our ability, you're talking in terms of our capacity, financial
Yes,
capacity.
yes.
Hey, okay. As a CIC, a cooperative entity, we have been financed and capitalized by the cooperatives. Now, cooperatives in Uganda are simply learning to capitalize us. And I call him Chair. Here you will call him Ivan. He has done a good job in taking the evangelism to the cooperators to learn how to support their own. And I will give a bit of a background before I come to that. That people talk about the glorious past. We used to have very strong, vibrant cooperatives. These things do not spontaneously self-assemble. They have people who have thought through, and they are supposed to be put together by the cooperators themselves. Today we are crying, we need support as the cooperative insurance company, you know, for the cooperators to buy shares. They have no idea that it is this company is theirs. Some do, and some have actually supported. But we need every cooperative to be part of the movement. The chair is also leading another delegation to do the cooperative bank. Now, this is not something that will come from heaven. It has got to come from the cooperatives themselves. Now, when you talk about CIC Uganda, we have been capitalized by the cooperatives themselves here in the country. And then because the chair and other stakeholders realized that we might have inadequacy of capital, and then so we partnered with a number of others. But key in those is the CIC group of Kenya. Now, if we, in the Ugandan capital setting, if we are not able, because of the magnitude of a claim, if we're not able to pay, and I want to put this to the cooperators and everybody out there, because we do give service to everybody. Although our key focus is the cooperators, then after that, like how Jesus said, you know, there are those in the Bible, there are those that were privileged to enjoy the gospel. And then those that were just abayudaya, you know, abanamawanga. CIC, we want to be a team built by everybody, and so the capital that we'll be able to have will be servicing them. There is no claim that is going to overwhelm us because of good support. And he's been talking about the cooperative principles, cooperation among cooperatives. There are so many cooperatives across Africa and in the world that have possibly stumbled and wanted to fail. It is so good news that other cooperatives cannot look at another cooperative collapsing. They always have an idea. They always think how best we can uplift this cooperative to run better. Because for us, it is our joy. The joy is in us to see that cooperatives are working. What is going to finish his shoes, the sole of his shoes, is he's moving around the country to make sure that cooperatives are sustainable, they're able to work together, they have got a vision. So CIC, we've got capacity. That even when CIC portfolio in Uganda is limited to pay a claim of Karuma Dam, there is CIC group, which is our parent, and it can offset that. And those are the figures that he's talking about. So nobody should be worried about how we shall be paying the claims, because we are fairly young in the industry, but very formidable, very strong, and we do give the best service that surprises anybody. And the cooperatives, so far, that is the chair, are very happy with the service of CIC, and not only those, but even the entire public, where we have put our footprint. People have appreciated. And I'm wondering where you're keeping your car, if you have one, Mr. Moderator, everything that UBC has should come to CIC, because we have not only capacity, but we are so sensitive on the people we do give the service, because we do give the service in a cooperative spirit. That will teach you.
Well, which is not profit-oriented, but surplus. Now, something has just been running through my mind.
Yeah.
We seem to be going back to the golden days of cooperatives,
Very true.
reviving the old glory of cooperatives.
Very true.
But one thing that comes to my mind, when we talk about the assets, the huge vision, what is keeping cooperators poor, Ivan?
Thank you so much. I don't know, when you talk of poor, what do you mean exactly?
When you move through number of places, yes, you'll find, I don't want to mention specific cooperatives, but they will tell you this is what our capital is, or, you know, this is the funds we have, these are the assets we have. But the members don't look that in tandem with the wealth of the cooperative. Why is the missing link?
Okay, thank you so much. So I understand, you mean poverty, not poor. Okay, fine. So, because poor means passing on opportunities repeatedly, that one we agreed, we are not, as cooperators, we have condemned it. We do not want to donate our wealth. No, we want to consolidate our wealth as cooperators. So when you talk of poverty, you know, when you go outside there, not everybody is a member of a cooperative. And you are not going to change this within 1 day, within a year. It's a gradual process. So improving people's livelihoods is not something that is short term. It's a long term. And for you to do that, you need to complete the cycle. And that is our agenda. You know, for cooperatives to be very strong, and what used to be there before, you know, these guys were very intelligent. They were not graduates, but very intelligent. In 1960s, early 70s there, they had transport, Uganda Cooperative Transport Union. They had insurance, they had a bank, they had the marketing arm. Their produce was going through the coffee marketing board, the lint marketing board, the produce marketing board. I still pose a question to Ugandans who are looking at me. How come that we, the educated, have not reached that level? There is something that we need to address as Ugandans, as Africans. The level, the more I have realized, the more we get educated, the more we get exploited. Why? Because our education system here in Africa does not prepare Africans to think, but rather to remember. And the problem, the moment you are trained to remember, not to think, you'll only be told that so and so discovered Lake Victoria from Europe, when actually they were Uganda fishing. That so and so discovered Mount Rwenzori when the Bakonjo were gardening there. So, and you think that is something real? So for us, we really must think, and the thinking must come today. And this is the cooperative model, where you say, let us stop donating our wealth, but rather consolidate our wealth. And that is why we are saying, let cooperatives position themselves in production. Then we also go into value addition. I'm very happy with the government. When you go outside there, the government has done a lot in supporting farmers with agro-processing facilities. CAIP, the Community Agriculture Infrastructure Improvement Program, the Agricultural Cluster Development Project, NADS, OWC, and others, programs are there. But now what we need is community mobilization and sensitization to make sure that these facilities are fully functional. So once we have production, we have value addition, we have the marketing and the financial arm, which is now the bank and the insurance. I tell you, the history or the story of poverty
will be a complete cycle.
It will just be no more. It will be a complete cycle. But the moment we don't complete this, then you know, most of these colonials, they have positioned themselves in the financial sector, in the telecom sector, because they know there is a lot of money here. So how do you do this? You also position your people there. production, value addition, marketing, finance. Once you bring them there, you are very sure. I was reading, you go to Netherlands, you go to Germany, go to France, go to Italy, they have their own insurers who are purely owned by cooperatives. Why? Because they know where there is money. So I tell you, moderator and Ugandans, we are on the right trajectory. And I'll tell you, the poverty will be history. As long as Ugandans really understand, like Francis was saying, this is a new company, because when you talk of CIC, literally we started in 2015. Yeah. So we are just a young company. But we are calling upon all cooperators outside there who are listening, who are seeing me, let us avoid donating our wealth. Let us consolidate our wealth. Let us have a very strong insurance company like it is in Kenya. It is the largest insurance company, like it is in Europe. And then once we are done with that, we now go to the cooperative bank. Once we finish our cycle, poverty will be no more.
Well, that will mean that the risks are easily mitigated, and of course the cooperative insurance company will not be targeting profits as the main purpose, but surplus, and of course it understands the people it's dealing with. Now,
although I wanted to add something on what you said,
please do.
And I love how the chair says it. Is quite passionate. You said, why are we still poor? Where is the missing link?
Where's the missing link?
The thing is, all Ugandans, with due respect, I think that is another challenge. The chair needs to get another project, whether from government or whatever it is, to sensitize us again, the people on the ground. The missing link is that when we look at countries that are ahead of us, and by the way, we are talking about these countries that are ahead of us, Uganda was the best in Africa. Then something happened along the way and they overtook us. But we know right now what we did then that was best, right? Now, if everybody understands that I am a cooperator, starting from families, and this is where I would like to implore Minister of Education or whatever it is to put cooperative education as part of curriculum. People have to understand that as a cooperator, you're not simply being a client of the bank. You are a shareholder in this village bank, which is a cooperative. It starts from there. And then the principles that the chair mentioned, the principle of member participation. You see, you go to an MFI, which is a microfinance, you get a loan. It is up to you whether you want to do a wedding or whatever it is. With the loan, is up to you. With a cooperative, we do train you when you take this loan, because we care. We want you to benefit from what you have taken from the cooperative society. So there is another team in every cooperative that trains a member when a member takes a loan. So it starts with a member. We don't want you to be poor. Don't take a loan and then you simply misuse it. So when we start with members, and possibly members will be students from the tertiary institutions, universities, when they have an idea of what being a cooperator means, then in the future, we'll be able to have cooperators that fit under the principle of member economic participation. That is very key. That when you're with us in the cooperative society, you don't just sit back. When you get some money, the way we call it, you don't just misuse it. Actually, we would beat the PDM, sadly. We would beat the PDM, because for us, we do give you money with a training and with a sense of cooperation, a spirit of cooperation. We want you to be better. So we will train you to achieve your objectives using the loan you have taken. And then if you're repaying that loan, you help the society to also be liquid. It will have the capital. It goes on like that, and the cooperative movement will be vibrant. And I surely tell you, if every cooperator here, if every Ugandan is a cooperator, this Uganda you see here will be in well-developed economy, one of the developed economies.
Now, Ivan, first when we talk about cooperatives, many people much as you've given us the records and the numbers, many people still are locked in the old days. One, agricultural cooperatives. That is number one. But also, you find that there's been a problem, a current problem, where people do not form cooperatives for the right reasons.
That is easy.
You know, today a person will tell you, we are forming a circle, which is a cooperative. And they are forming because they have had Chirabo is giving money to people.
Yeah.
You make groups, you form a circle, you get money. When you read what a cooperative is, what brings you together is a common problem, and you're looking for a solution. When you remember the likes of China Kuria,
Yes.
you know. Now, what we are having today, I see a mismatch. And Francis is here saying, if everybody
If everybody
is
understood.
if everybody is a
Yes.
cooperator.
Yeah, exactly.
So, how do we ensure that what has gone so much under the carpet, we can rectify this?
Thank you so much. You know, that's why I'm always grateful with the UBC. And I want to call upon the other media houses.
Yeah.
Why don't you help Ugandans and Africa? They are, why, you see, when you go to TV, there are so many programs there. But you ask yourself, are these programs really contributing to the socio-economic transformation of Uganda and Africa in general? Why don't you come up with such good programs where a common Ugandan now seated in Kabongo, in Chisoro, watching and is learning? Because there is a lot of information asymmetry.
Yeah.
We are just locked in something
Yeah.
as Africans. And we must think, we must wake up. Africa must wake up. We have been stolen for a long time. We must wake up. I tell you, if Africans woke up today, Africa would be ahead of Europe, ahead of America, ahead of Asia Pacific. The other day I was reading, Congo is the richest country on the planet.
Yeah.
But you go there and look at the people. What is happening? The word poor.
You don't
They
need to
get
go
their
there.
minerals.
Just stay here and
You
observe.
see? You see? Their minerals are going, you keep poor. Then you resort to sleeping in a church that you are now waiting to God. God to do what? God gave you everything. He gave you the head, he gave you the arms, he gave you the legs, so that you can now co-create, you add on. So, ideally, I don't know, have you ever thought one day, when you find a smallholder farmer, you like Chibinge, in Masaka, who can easily access inputs through a cooperative, can access extension services, even government extension workers, it will be easier for them to provide extension services because farmers are mobilized. And then the same farmer is in the garden where I know even if it rains so heavily, I have an insurance cover. I do not lose because my risk is mitigated. And then the same farmer is taking the produce to the store, which is a standardized store, which is a cooperative, and they are adding value. The processing machines are there. After processing, they package very well, and it goes to the market. And along the value chain, CIC or any insurance company is there to cover the risk. And you cannot suffer because there is a cooperative bank that is willing to give you credit at every level. And then you can access both internal, regional, and the foreign market. So that is the cycle that can end this poverty. But when you are talking of poverty, without looking at the entire cycle, you can never move your people away from poverty. You can only move them away from this poverty if you manage the entire cycle. And this is where we are heading. So I want to assure Ugandans that we are on the right trajectory. You have talked about why is it that some people are forming cooperatives yet they are not aware, they don't know what to do, such things. All is about information asymmetry. There is a lack of appropriate information, and that is why we thank you, UBC, for always giving Ugandans this opportunity. I really pray to God to give you all the blessings, because you have given cooperators the opportunity to learn. You have given Ugandans the opportunity to understand that actually this is the way to go.
Well, the sportsman must be here very shortly. I'll just give Francis just a minute to have his concluding remarks as we make room for Ruben for sports updates.
I thought we were here the whole day.
That only works with cooperators.
Okay.
Not yes, yes.
Thank you, host, today. When I looked at our catchword, today was risk mitigation. And I was happy, you know, that UBC can go ahead and think how cooperatives can even manage their risks. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take just 2 minutes. When we talk about risk, and he gave a very good description, in corporation or in cooperatives, we have what we call stewardship. Stewardship. Now, with stewardship, you must approach everything, and in microfinance, we call it best practice. You must approach everything with best practice, right? Now, it's different if you're managing your own risk. If I'm managing my own risk as me, I can do many adventures. No problem. If you're the steward of a cooperative society, then you must take measures to manage these risks. I hope I'm understood. That if there is a cooperative institution out there that is not taking into consideration managing risks, it is running its own race. The race we are running as a cooperative movement is risk management. And I don't want to say you bring those risks to CIC, much as I would love that. But I'm saying that cooperatives should have an idea, should have a philosophy that we must transfer the risks we cannot handle. And there are many we have seen. There are cooperatives that are transporting a member produce from whichever end to whatever end. They have got no clue of the uncertainties that happen when these things are in the containers moving. That is why CIC and other insurance companies do come on board and say, guys, this is produce for the members, and you must protect it. You must insure it. Give it a protection. If the container, I used to see so many fuel tanks overturn. If the container overturns, you've got an insurance cover for that. And then members don't lose completely, but the insurance pays. That's why CIC is here for the cooperatives. That is for cooperatives that are in marketing. And same applies to those in agriculture. Don't allow members to just plant, to just have their seedlings in the ground just far without any insurance policy. Same as poultry. All those risks that you cannot handle, because remember, in cooperatives we use people's money, members' money, and we must make sure at all times that this money is protected. We don't lose any coin. And what insurance, of all standard, the insurance is to put you back to a level where you were. We don't want you to sink in the ground. That's not with CIC, that's not with ICEA, whatever it is. The insurance policy that you can get from anywhere is to help you get back to a level, and then you run. So we want to support the cooperatives in all areas. You cut me short. Because
I must cut you short in the interest of time, because
as we conclude,
we shall find another time. Francis, well, he's also another passionate person when it comes to cooperatives, but we've been looking at mitigating risks. You're having people's money, we are looking at eliminating poverty. There is so much going into in the PDM. Sometimes government has talked about people not paying back money, people running. How do we mitigate these risks? You reduce CIC is there. See you in the next hour. I'll give room to Ruben to take you through sports updates. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. Pick of the day on UBC. was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja Ankole segment. Learn about the fabrication of Ankole Kingdom from Nkore, the beautiful village of milk and honey at the detriment of Mpororo states.
Ankole as a kingdom came about in 1901.
Ankole is a colonial fabrication.
And all these small kingdoms were counties of the original Itara.
Ruhinda Ruanjunachi, who was Mtrezi,
the son of Wamara Ranjanjuru.
And that starts the rulers of Ankole called Vahinda.
Who are the pre-colonial heroes from Ankole?
Is it Rutaraka, Muguta, is it Intare, Kitabanyoro? Find out from Tuko Pamoja.
Daily screenings at Ham Cinemax in Wandegea at 11:30, 2 p.m., 4:30 and 7 p.m. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660. Tuko Pamoja?
Aldama squaring up from deep, can't hit, tipped in by Zaire Williams. And how about this? Stroud has been accustomed to not take a seat until the Wolves get their first points. Aldama makes it 12-0 Memphis.
Mike threw it back to him.
Mike picked up his dribble a little early. An awkward sequence there from Conley. Jackson, the tempo, nearly lost the handle. And Williams finishing the lob at the rim, out of bounds. Another turnover for the Grizzlies. Quickly ahead, McDaniel.
My name is Ruben Mp Machibirango. Of course, I've got giving sports in a few minutes. But some of the messages coming in from the guys that have been here. One is saying that he's a retired teacher. He wants to have a be part of the cooperatives. But you know, it's interesting to have such conversations here. And when Asimwe gets in, it becomes more interesting. Anyway, but of course, I'll start with NBA and the big one that happened this morning has just ended between the Clippers and the Lakers. The Lakers have actually won that battle for the Los Angeles Derby by beating the Clippers with 4 points. 116 to 112 for the Clippers. The first quarter was a 59-point quarter, 30 for the Clippers and 29 for the Lakers. The second quarter was actually a 59 as well, a point quarter. 36 for the Clippers and 23 for the Lakers. Then where the Clippers took it was actually the third quarter. They had 30 points and 25 for the Lakers. Then the fourth quarter went to the Lakers. They had 39 and the Clippers only had 16 in the fourth quarter. Other games that we had, the Kings did lose the Nuggets. That was 117 to 96. We had the Wolves beating the Grizzlies 110-101. Then the high-scoring game was actually in Chicago. The Bulls did beat the Cavs 132 to 123. That means that this game gave us 255 points. Wow, at a game there. Then we had the Raptors as well, losing to the Mavericks 136 to 125 for the Raptors. And finally, the Pelicans lost the Pacers 1-3 for the Pacers and 114 for the Pelicans. That is it from those are the results we had this morning. And tomorrow morning, as we come into studio here, a few games will be played, or a couple of them will be played. The Lakers will take on the Wizards. I'll start with the early games. At the Spectrum Center, the Hornets will take on the Bucks. That will be at 3 a.m. Then at the Kaya Center is K-I-A, Kaya Center, at 3 a.m. the Magic will take on the Jazz at Kaya Center. that stadium really is, the name is funny. There, of course, the Nets will take on the Hawks. That will be at the Barclays Center.
That will be at 3:30. Then at 3:30 as well, at the Madison Square Garden, the Knicks will take on the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are supported by Albert Semiano and Henry Iga. Those guys love the Warriors. And when they lost so many games, they were up in the arms telling me, we shall get back, Ruben. You've never gotten back, Semiano and Henry Iga. Okay, the Spurs will take on the Thunder. That is Famba's team. The Thunder is Famba's team. The man who's the tallest man here. The Thunder, that Famba supports takes on the Spurs. One day I'll bring Famba here and you see the size. You wonder if that is the man I talk about every day. The Suns will take on the Rockets. That will be at 5. The game will be at the Footprint Center. And then the Nuggets will take on the Heat at 6 a.m. And that game will be at the Boro Arena. And lastly, the Lakers will take on the Wizards at 6:30. And that game will be at the Crypto.com Arena.